Hello again, everybody. Les East, Brian Allee-Walsh with NewOrleans.com. It's Friday night after the third exhibition game. The Saints win one 36-21 at the Superdome. And let's start right off with some injuries, which is something that the coaching staff certainly doesn't want to have to deal with at this stage. But there are guys that came out of here nicked, and I'm just going to give just a brief rundown. Pearson Prelo, the safety, has a knee. Middle linebacker Jonathan Vilma with a groin. Right tackle Zach Strief with a knee. And wide receiver kick returner Courtney Roby with a knee or ankle. We aren't really sure about that. None of them appear
Jonathan Vilma.
I'm sorry, what did I say? Jonathan Vilma with a groin. None of these appear to be serious. Of course, we won't know. The team our access is cut off this weekend. They are going to be off for the better part of the weekend, and then we return to the practice field Monday. But we won't know too much about their injuries until we all get back on Monday.
Yeah, what we see at this point doesn't look too serious, but you never know until these guys get checked out a little more thoroughly. Of course, the biggest concern would be Jonathan Vilma, one of the more important players on the defense. Don't know that he would have played much, if at all, against Tennessee anyway. So the key is whether he'll be ready for September 9th. We both saw Zach Strief afterward, talked to him, and said he was fine. He didn't seem too concerned about it. Prelo and Roby, no less probably about those two. So we'll find out more on Monday when Sean Payton talks to us the next time.
We'll also find out more about Darren Sharper, the possible return of him to the practice field next week, as well as Clint Egan. Both are currently on active PEP, and it's a big week for them if they are indeed going to make it into the regular season on the 53-man roster. There were more individual performances, I felt like, tonight, and certainly a couple need to be noted right off the bat. I think let's begin with the rookie running back Chris Ivory, and he ends up with 11 carries for 45 yards. But the play that really stands out is his 76-yard take it to the house touchdown pass from Patrick Ramsey when he ran over at least 3 to 4 San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, he ran over people, and he cut back on one guy, he stiff-armed another guy. Drew Brees said he looked like Jeremy Shockey with the stiff arm. And Chris Ivory throughout camp has been opening eyes, and there's always a qualifier there, like, well, if they carry 4, he might make it, or does he understand pass protecting, or does he play special teams enough? All these questions, but every week he gets better and better, makes plays in the running game and now in the passing game, and I don't see any way he doesn't make the team at this point. He's just made too many plays.
I agree with you. I think, in fact, you could make a case he's probably made the team out of the injuries that have happened to Lionel Hamilton and also P.J. Hill, but he certainly earned his spot. He didn't back into his spot at all.
No, not at all. And the question now is whether either of the veteran players can make it. Liddell Betts got into a game tonight for the first time, didn't have a chance to show a whole lot. Deshaun Wynn recovered a fumble on a kickoff at the end, but didn't really get a chance to show himself as a running back. So, right now, I think the question mark at halfback is which of those guys, if either one, is able to join Chris Ivory on the roster.
Yeah, and you know what, this is a thought, and we had discussed this earlier. You'll wonder if there's really a need to carry a 4th running back, or should they carry 2 fullbacks on this roster now with Heath Evans? We shouldn't be alarmed that they're holding him out as precaution here as the preseason winds down, but it's a consideration because Jason McKee could play special teams if he's that other fullback that they want to talk about. But it's a thought that we should consider as we do whittle it down to the 53. There's 2 guys that I want to bring up real quick. Junior Gillette, the defensive end rookie, and Adrian Arrington, the wide receiver. Both these guys are certainly in a position to make this team, and both of them were given extra long looks tonight. Gillette at both special teams and in pass rushing situations with the first unit, and Adrian Arrington returning kicks, punts, that is. I think it's kind of the more you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think Adrian Arrington is a guy who's been basically 6th at wide receiver and had an uphill battle because he hasn't contributed on special teams. Junior Gillette is kind of a tweener, you know, between an outside linebacker and a defensive end, sort of a specialist and a pass rusher. And so they both kind of niche players, and you're trying to figure out how can they make the team. Well, tonight they gave them both ample opportunity to prove they can make it on special teams. So I think what they're doing is the coaching staff is trying to find a reason on special teams to keep these guys because they like so much of what they've seen of them as offensive and defensive players.
And then finally, Patrick Ramsey got in the majority of the second half. Drew played through the first half and into 2 possessions of the third quarter, and then turned the ball over to Patrick Ramsey, who played mostly with 2s to finish the game. Pat's stats were good, 10 of 18 for 191, and of course he had the 76-yard catch and run touchdown to Chris Ivory. But I think Patrick certainly showed moments where throughout training camp he's shown an ability to throw deep, strong, and with touch, and I think he showed that again tonight.
Yeah, I don't think we learned a whole lot about that tonight. He, you know, his numbers are skewed a little bit. He had the easiest 76-yard touchdown pass he'll ever have, just by swinging the ball out to Chris Ivory. So his yardage numbers probably look a little better than maybe they really were. The interception, he got hit on it, and the ball kind of popped up. I don't think you can blame him totally for that, though he took responsibility for it. I would say Chase Daniel probably stood out a little more last week. He had more time with the ones last week, but ultimately I think that decision comes down to 2 things. One, who do we feel more comfortable with, or we have to put him into a game in case something happens to Drew Brees. I think that's still going to be Pat Ramsey. And then it comes down to, do we keep Chase Daniel as our 3rd quarterback? And I think he made a strong case for that last week. They'll both play a lot, I'm sure, against Tennessee. One final opportunity to evaluate that, but I think at this point it's probably coming down to whether Chase Daniel can convince them to give him a roster spot over somebody at another position.
And then finally, I would think that this Tennessee game on Thursday night in Nashville, we'll get a good look at both Ramsey and Chase Daniel as they wind down the preseason schedule. I would be shocked if Drew Brees did anything more than if he opened up in the first possession and hand the ball off 2 or 3 times and get the heck out of Dodge. But I don't even think he'll do that. So it's really going to turn the game over to the 2 guys that are involved in vying for that number 2 job. It's a short week. They're back on the practice field Monday and Tuesday. They've got the touchdown luncheon on Wednesday, and then they fly out to Nashville for Thursday night's game, and the preseason is over. Regular season will start a week from Thursday. So, you know, it's winding down here, and I think this, as they get down to whittling this roster to the final 53, it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited to see how they're going to fill out this roster.
Yeah, I think there are all kinds of options available to them at this point. I think they may be thinking outside the box a little bit more with some of the guys we talked about,
yeah.
Junior Gillette, Adrian Arrington, and we've said it before, but it becomes even more true the last week. Special teams, special teams, special teams. That's going to determine so much.
And you know what? Let's not leave. We would be remiss not to acknowledge that special teams, the coverage units, both punt and kick, did a much better job. Much better job. More sound, fundamentally sound, technique-wise, than they have all preseason. And so I think they should be acknowledged for that because we have given them a lot of grief.
And let's mention 2 guys. Usama Young set the tone on the opening kickoff by stopping Darren Sproles inside the 20. He also made an interception later on defense. Also had a penalty on special teams, which wasn't great. And then another guy who I think has solidified his roster position, which was already in pretty good shape, but the way Chip Vaughn has played on the coverage teams. First in New England, he made a big play, made a few tonight, and I think he's one of the guys they were looking for stepping up, and he did that, and I think he's going to be a key part of the coverage teams on the special teams.
In closing, I asked Sean Payton during the post-game press conference about whether or not this answered a lot of questions regarding the 53-man roster, and he said what it did really was provided them with a lot of good tape to evaluate, and then finally ultimately make decisions as they head into the Tennessee game. So Les, It's late here in New Orleans and in the Superdome, and final score here is 36-21. The Saints move their exhibition record to 3-0. They'll close up the preseason schedule next Thursday night at Tennessee. For Les East, I'm Brian Allee-Walsh. Remember, stay in touch with nfl-preseason.com throughout the weekend, and we'll see you next time.